So if you watched my previous video on being an anime fan back in the day, there was a certain portion of that video where I kind of went on a short rant about a topic not pertaining to anime in the slightest. That topic being the persistent delays of the video game Cyberpunk 2077. Yep, I'm a gamer. Gaming for me has always been an integral part of my life. It's such an evolving industry with countless stories and concepts that can only be properly conveyed through a medium as interactive as video games. Gaming experiences can be super varied, whether you're playing through and immersing yourself in a cinematic story or story-driven experience, like Death Stranding or Persona 5, or just goofing off with your friends in a Grand Theft Auto Online lobby. Gaming and the gaming landscape is ever-changing, and I take a lot of interest in seeing how video games continue to shift and evolve. However, over the last few years, my interest in retro games has kind of taken off. The good old relics of the past, the lost libraries of gaming generations past, hold so many hidden gems I can't even comprehend how many amazing games I missed out on as a kid. I was born in 2001, and played a lot of games on my PlayStation 2 and GameCube. I would spend countless hours, day in and day out, grinding up my created characters in Def Jam Fight for New York, playing through the stylish levels of Sly Cooper, or attempting for the 20th time to beat Rico Harbor in Super Mario Sunshine. And yeah, while I had loads of fun playing these games and more during my childhood, in recent years I've found myself wanting to revisit these eras of gaming and relive those experiences, and even trying out new experiences that I missed out on as a kid. I think my fascination with retro games began somewhere in freshman year of high school. My high school gave every student a personal MacBook to use for classes, and of course, most students use these MacBooks as an opportunity to optimize their in-class procrastination strats. And so through peers, I would end up getting a hold of a lot of games that friends and I would play during class. Games like Halo, Postal 2, Call of Duty Black Ops, and it would also be my first time ever playing League, and I'll be the first to proudly admit, I'm actual garbage at League. But while traversing through my high school's underground network of game suppliers, I would end up stumbling into the wonderful world of emulation. What's emulation, you ask? Let's just hit up Urban Dictionary again, shall we? Emulation, a hardware that permits PCs to mimic gaming console systems for games to be played on. Now that we've got that out of the way, I was in Spanish class, and I remember seeing a senior in the seat in front of me playing Pokemon Fire Red on his computer. I asked him how he got it, and he showed me the emulator OpenEmu, a really great emulator for Mac which I still use to this day. So I downloaded the ROM from a site that will not be disclosed, and instantly I found myself going deeper into the rabbit hole of emulation. I started emulating any game that I could get my hands on, from Tetris to Mario to Mega Man. I even dabbled a little bit with N64 emulation, but then I felt this sudden urge for something different, something more. I wanted to play GameCube games again. At this point, it had been forever since I'd even seen a GameCube, let alone played any games on one, and I'd always wanted to explore that library past the games I had as a kid. The emulator I was using at the time didn't support GameCube games, so I searched on the internet for a GameCube emulator, and came across Dolphin, an emulator anyone slightly familiar with emulation will know about. If I remember correctly, it was a Friday when I downloaded Dolphin. So I set it up, and the first game I booted was The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I spent hours playing Wind Waker in the dark of my room that night, and instantly fell in love with it. It was at that point I was hooked. I started looking for all kinds of retro games that I never got to play as a kid, and over this period of time, I realized that older games can be just as fun and provide as meaningful experiences as games do currently. And in some ways, the experiences trump a lot of the games that come out today. First big advantage of retro games? The games were complete. Of course, not every game from the past had zero game-breaking bugs or was perfect in any way, but at least when you got the game, you knew that you had the game and all the content it had to offer. And typically games had to be released in the best state they possibly could, since the developers couldn't just patch out all the bugs after the fact. Games released with contained stories and enough content for players to get their money's worth. And some of these games were just so chock full of content, it puts a lot of what comes out nowadays to shame. Yeah, we're looking at you, Anthem. Advantage number dos. When a game back in the day had unlockables, cosmetics, and extra content, that stuff could only be earned through gameplay. Like when I finished Resident Evil 4 for the first time on my PlayStation 2. I was surprised to find out that entire new game modes were available, as well as an alternate outfit for Leon. or playing the Budokai Tenkaichi games and unlocking dozens of characters just by playing the game. Nowadays, cosmetics in most games are hidden behind paywalls, and extra content is added in updates or sold through DLC. Things were just a lot simpler back then. After realizing what I'd been missing out on with retro games, I decided to start a collection, starting by buying a new GameCube, and just a couple of games for it, as well as some games for my PlayStation 2 I'd been interested in. And through playing these games, I realized that retro games and retro game consoles are important pieces of history to preserve. That these experiences should be treasured not just by the most diehard of gamers, but by gaming as a whole. Far too often, you see people only celebrate or show love to whatever blockbuster titles are coming out. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I think respect should also be shown to the titles that paved the way for the games we love now to become what they are. So I encourage everyone watching to try out a few retro games, to find a new appreciation for these classics. Not only that, but you may just find a gaming experience that sticks with you for years to come.